Hello, and welcome to Civil Engineering 6440 Intelligent Transportation Systems. My name is Brian Smith, and I will be the instructor for the course this summer. Today, what I want to do is give you a brief overview of the course itself and also to introduce you to the content and the case study. So, that is the basic idea here. The course will be different. Obviously, we're teaching it in a desktop asynchronous manner, and we'll talk about how we're going to do that. We also certainly have the challenge of presenting a course in roughly half the time we normally have during an academic year semester. So we have 8 weeks for the course versus the traditional 16 weeks, so we're going to move pretty quickly. But I think we put it together in a way that it can be very interactive and also to give you a really good overview of intelligent transportation systems. So with that, let me move and show, and basically to show you how the course is going to work. It will all be run through the Uva Collab System, and I'm going to move right now over to that to show you the features and how to work with the course. So let's go to Collab. Here we are now in Collab, and you see here I'm on the course site, Civil Engineering 6440. The site will have the syllabus. I will post units, and basically a unit corresponds to each week of the course. Now, at this point, you should only be able to see Unit 1 because the units will only pop up when the week of the course is active. So right now you're seeing my instructor screen where I have all the units shown, but right now you'll only be seeing Unit 1, which is this first week from June 12th through June 18th. If you go down, you'll see the assignments are posted. There's a forum section which we'll use for discussions, gradebook, roster, etc. So let's go ahead and jump in and look at the syllabus just so you have an idea of the overview of the course, and we will talk about kind of how this course works as we look at the syllabus. Let me open this up here for us. So again, you see here that the idea of the course is to basically to expose you to what ITS is, help you understand how to design ITS systems, help you understand some of the supporting technology, and basically just raise your awareness of what ITS is. Here's my information. Obviously, given this is a desktop asynchronous course, we're not going to have the traditional office hours. I really worked hard to make the course in a manner where you don't have to physically be on grounds to take it. So please interact with me via email. You can call my office phone. That's not usually the best way of getting a hold of me. I check my email very regularly, so that should work well. You also are welcome to text me with questions, and my cell number is 434-981-5571. If you are on grounds, you certainly are welcome to stop by and see me anytime, but I do want it to be set up in a way where that won't penalize a person if they can't do that. Okay. As you see here, the course, there are no scheduled lecture sessions. There are no scheduled office hours. This course can be done on your time. Now, with that being said, it is paced on a week-by-week basis, so you're going to have 8 units corresponding to the 8 weeks. You do need to complete each unit in the week it's assigned, because this is not a good course. It's not a course that can work where you put all of the work at the very end or do it all at the beginning. It's going to have to go on that week-by-week basis. But with that week period of time, I think we're giving you plenty of time to fit the work in based on your schedules. This is exactly what I just said to you. Each unit will have an introductory video from me. There will be a number of readings, and we're going to rely heavily on the ITS e-primer, which is essentially an ITS textbook published by the U.S. Department of Transportation. We will use forum discussions. Forum is the discussion tool within Collab, and I will post discussion questions to get these things going. I will also have a topic available each unit for you to ask questions of things that you're curious about or are unclear to you. It's important to understand this is not purely a ask a question to me and I answer it, but it's something I really hope that we all jump in and offer our thoughts, offer our perspectives. Look at this as kind of an in-class discussion equivalent. So, again, the whole idea of this is to try to capture that discussion that we can normally have in a classroom period. There will also be additional material each unit. These include case studies. There are 5 case studies we're going to work on, one of which we're going to do this very first semester, this very first unit. There will be a project where each student will develop a video and a discussion session on a particular ITS implementation, particular system or application. I'll give you more details on that in a second, but these will be spread throughout the semester, and this will be something else you'll work on each unit. Finally, at the end of each unit, you're going to submit what I call a unit memo to basically to show your understanding of the material and to go a little deeper than the surface level content. So that's the basic premise of how the units will work. Again, each unit will begin on Monday morning. It'll end on Sunday evening. And like I said, you'll see the units are released on Monday mornings at 8 o'clock on Collab. Okay. There are 2 projects you're going to do this semester, and we'll talk about those here in a moment. There's a ITS application description video plus discussion lead. I just introduced that a moment ago, and we'll go into more depth in a second. You also will work on ITS application design, and this one you're going to do the high-level design for a particular implementation of ITS that you create. We'll talk about that more in a moment as well. Here's how grading will work for the semester. Your 2 projects here will be worth 35%. There will be a midterm and a final exam. These will be conducted as expected at the end of the class, in the middle of the class. Again, intended to ensure that the material is being covered adequately. You will do a unit memo at the end of each unit, so there'll be 8 of those. Your performance on the case studies, and finally, 10% of the grade will be based on how actively you participate and contribute to the discussion. This is a really important part of the class, so I will be looking at the types of contributions you make to the discussions and how actively you participate. Finally, at the end here of the syllabus, I'm giving you the weekly unit plans as of today. I do reserve the right to make some changes to these as the semester rolls along, but this gives you a basic idea of the pace of the class and the content. So you'll see here, so basically each unit I have described what we're going to cover. I also describe what you're going to deliver. A couple of little things you can keep in mind. The midterm and the finals won't change. The project due dates won't change. So this will give you some idea of what's coming throughout this semester. But like I said, I might make some small tweaks, especially in terms of the content for each unit. But that does give you an idea of how we're going to cover things. So that is the syllabus for the course. If we go back here to Collab, let me just go ahead and click. Well, actually, no. Let me go down to assignments. Okay, and so for the assignments, you see here I have a number of them posted already. Well, actually, I have all the projects posted already. So let's for the ITS application description project, let's click on that. This is going to be an interesting project that we'll all be contributing towards. This is something that we'll be running all semester. So basically here, what you're going to do is pick a particular ITS application or implementation. It could be a traffic management system in a particular city. It could be a transit information system. It could be a connected vehicle application, but something that's actually been designed, developed, and deployed and is being used today. Um, you're going to pick one of these, and then what I'm asking you to do is create a 5-minute YouTube video describing the application, so that all of us can learn from what you found out. So you will basically develop this YouTube video. You could use any variety of images or video or audio that you find. Turn that off. And then create the video. Obviously, I think you'll speak over the images and such that you do there. So create this video in YouTube, and then I do have it set up in the units where you can add content. And so I'm going to ask that you add the link to your video no later than the Sunday evening prior to the unit that your video is going to be presented. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But basically, you will be responsible for creating the video and posting it to the unit so it's available to all the students. In addition to this, I want you to lead a discussion through the forum on your particular application. So there is a forum entitled Itx Application Description Project Discussions, and then what I want you to do is create a new topic in this forum for your project and name the topic Itx Application Description, and then the number of your presentation. Again, they're numbered from 1 to the number of students in the class, and the name of your system. So in this case, if you're the 11th person project signed up, you would be the Itx Application Description 11, the Maryland chart system, if that's what you're talking about. In the topic, I want you to create 4 discussion threads. 3 of them should be particular questions, discussion topics that you identify. So it could be, your thought about the system. What is a particularly good feature? What is something you think they missed opportunities on? Or it could be something you want people to chime in with their opinion. And then finally, you should have one final topic, the 4th topic, which will be simply to allow your classmates to ask you questions. These need to be added, and then you'll add this as also in the content of the unit by the Sunday prior to your unit. So again, you will be posting basically in the unit that you're assigned to the video and the discussion topic, so that students will have access to those for that week. So hopefully this makes some sense. If you are confused, please do send me an email. It really should not be too difficult as far as adding this to Collab, but it does make sense for you to directly add it to save one less step than to send it to me and for me to add it. So finally, I do want to go ahead and get signed up for this. I have a Google Doc here that allows you to pick a topic, pick a project, and a date. So let me get this. So basically, what you'll see is that we're doing these basically every unit from next week forward. So you see here the Google Doc has the unit number, which corresponds to the week. So week 2, week 3, week 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. We do have extra. We have typically 2 of these per week. There will be some weeks where we have 3 given the size of the course. So right now I'm giving you the chance to go ahead and pick the unit you want to present in and pick the application you're going to talk about. So you will have to do a little bit of work right now to pick a project, and then go ahead and sign up for that in the week. So for those of you who want to get this out of the way early, go ahead and pick next week. If you want more time, pick a later week. This is available on a first come first serve basis, but I am asking to have this completed by this Thursday, June 15th, because I do want it, because with people going in week 2, we need to get this set so we're ready to go. So this is something you do have to get done a little earlier than the end of this first week. Okay, so that's the application project, application description project. Let's go back to Collab here. I'm all mixed up. Here we go. Um, and now if we go back to our assignments, the application design project, there are 3 elements to that, and they'll be due at different times during the semester: the concept of operations, the requirements, and the technology recommendations. These assignments are created here. You can actually let me take one step back. The previous assignment I showed you for the application description, there's nothing formal you're turning in. You're simply creating the YouTube video and posting it. I can obviously see that. And then you're creating the discussions. For more traditional assignments where you have some written material to turn in, you will turn it in via the assignments in Collab. So let me show you how that works. For the design project, and for the concept of operations, the first piece, here's the assignment. I'll click the document to show the assignment. But what you'll find is once you complete this, you'll simply turn in your file using that assignment feature in Collab. So for the ITS application design, what I want you to do is for you to pick a new system, something that you want to create. And here I've given you some examples. It could be a parking information system for the university. It could be a traffic management system for a particular corridor or region. It could be a connected vehicle application. So this is something that you would come up with yourself. And basically you're going to be doing several parts to this. The first part is I want you to tell me what you're intending to work on. I'm giving you basically until next Tuesday, June 20th, so into Unit 2, to think of the project. And I know it's early for this, but yet you need the time to be able to work on it. So for this, all you have to do is send me an email with your proposed project. I'm not looking at this in terms of how good I think it is, but rather, do I think this is a viable application for you to do the design for. So it's going to be essentially a little bit of back and forth negotiation to get you to a project that I think is well suited for this assignment. After that, then you have 3 pieces you're going to complete, and they're going to be due in Units 3, 5, and 7 respectively. You'll develop a concept of operations, and we're going to talk more about what the concept of operations is actually this week. You're going to develop a requirements document to define what the system will do in a very structured manner. And then you're going to finally conclude by offering technology recommendations. Now, you're not going to do a full technical detailed design, but rather here's how you would recommend using technology to meet the requirements defined for this design. So this is something you'll be working on all semester, and be turning in these interim deliverables in Units 3, 5, and 7. So that's this project. Go back to Collab. And again, you'll turn that in through the assignment feature. Okay. So now let's go to Unit 1. And again, the one thing that should make the class relatively easy to work with is that you can pretty much just pick each unit or go to each unit for each week, and you'll see all of the content for you to read, and you'll see all of the assignments for you to complete will be in that unit. So here we are in Unit 1. Like I said, these units will be available at 8 o'clock on the Monday of the beginning of the unit. So in this case, 8 o'clock on Monday, June 12th. And you'll see here what I've shown is you have 2 key readings. One is Chapter 1 of the ITS E-Primer, which is Introduction to ITS. And the second is Chapter 2 in the ITS E-Primer, or Systems Engineering. Then we're going to work on the National ITS Architecture case study. This is a link to the case study material. Then you will actually have an assignment for that case study, and you see this represents assignments here. So you'll have, and we'll click on that in a second, and you'll see what that assignment is. You also have to complete a part of the ITS application description project. In this case, this is simply you signing up for a unit in a particular implementation or project That's what we just talked about. So this just takes you to that, so you know you have to complete that piece in Unit 1. You'll also have to complete a Unit 1 unit memo, which I'll talk about that here in a second, and you'll have to participate in the Unit 1 discussions. So what this shows you here is that for this unit, you need to make sure you complete all of these elements by essentially midnight on June 18th, so that you're ready to go on to Unit 2. And this hopefully will help you pace yourself and make sure you're completing all of the work. And the one thing I don't have posted right now is when you get this, you'll see the video posted at the top that I'm creating now, but I obviously don't have that yet. Let's see. So let's talk about the unit memos. If I click on that, that will take me to the assignment for Unit 1 memo. And here you'll see, you can simply, when you get to this, you'll see the assignment posted here as a document. I'll show that to you in a second. And when you're done writing your memo, you simply will attach it here and upload it or submit it, and then I'll be able to review it. So a unit memo is nothing really too complicated. It's just simply a way for me to track your understanding of the material and give you a chance to kind of reflect back at the end of the unit in terms of what you've learned and what perhaps areas of confusion. So a unit memo, I'm keeping them pretty limited. They need to be no longer than 2 single-space pages using 12-point font, so I don't want long documents here, simply pretty concise. And I'm looking for 3 things in each unit. One is a content summary. What I'm looking for here particularly is for you to identify the 3 most important concepts that you took away from the unit. So think through all the stuff you did. These are the 3 most important things that you captured from this unit. 2 will be opportunities for future ITS development. So what I'm looking for here is 2 to 3 really high potential things that you see that can happen in the future of ITS based on what you covered here. So what I'm looking for here is, what did you see that excites you, that you think we can really make a difference in terms of transportation and quality of life in our communities, and talk a bit about why that is and what the potential is that you see. Finally, I want you to talk a little bit about barriers to the future development. What are the challenges that we have to face for this to realize the full potential? It could be technology challenges. It could be institutional issues challenges. It could be public acceptance challenges, etc. So just what you see as barriers for the development of the opportunities you identified in number 2. So again, this is the basic idea here. Now I realize you could whip these out really quick with probably relatively little thought. That's not what I'm looking for. I am really, when I grade these, and I'm not going to grade them, in super depth or overly harshly, but I am going to look for your depth of thought and analysis. So I'm looking for you to really sit back and put all the stuff together from the unit and give me some pretty coherent, in-depth analysis of what you've read and done. So that's the idea of a unit memo. Again, these are due at the end of each unit. Okay, I want to jump in here now and talk about the discussion aspect of each unit. So again, when you get to the unit content, you come down here, there'll be a discussion forum for each of the units. I'll click on this. And you see here for Unit 1, this is a start of the discussion. I'm going to flesh this out before I open the unit on Monday. But just so you see here, for each unit discussion, you'll see I'm going to post a number of topics. The first topic here you see for now is the promise of ITS. And I asked, does ITS have the potential to improve transportation service in congested urban areas to an extent that alleviates the need for construction of additional capacity? This is kind of coming to the age-old question of, can you operate your way out of congestion, or do you need to have more capacity? And I want to see what you think about that, and based on the readings and based on your background. So what I'm asking is, you come in for each unit, you'll see some of these questions like this, and you click on that topic, and then basically I'm asking for you to come in here and add your thoughts. So you can, and again, this is my edit screen, but you're going to be able to come in here and to add a thread of what you think about this topic. And then in doing so, I'm asking for you to comment on that. I'm asking for you to comment on classmates' thoughts. Maybe come back and respond to what other people have said about your comments. I'm going to jump into the forums as well. So this is a way for us to be able to have discussions. This case, there's going to be other topics. I'm always going to have one topic of your questions and answers, or your questions and comments for these general things that you want to bring up and discuss. So you will see the topics identified when you begin the first unit, and you'll see that for every unit. And an important part of the class will be to take part of these forums. This is going to you learn a lot from the discussion with your peers and with me as an instructor. So I'm really asking that you take part of these. I will, at the end of the semester, assess your contributions. I'm going to look, number one, at how active you are, and number two, at how much thought you put into your comments. So to make an extreme example, simply commenting over and over, that's a good idea, or I agree, you'll be active, but it's not really contributing greatly to the conversation. So I'm looking for the depth of your thought and the significance of your contribution as well. So again, you'll be able to access the forums from the unit, as you see here, each time. And I'll call it Unit 1 discussion, Unit 2 discussion, etc. Okay, so now you've heard about the readings. I'm going to talk now about give you a quick presentation on the readings in general. We'll talk about the case study, and you do have an assignment for that. We've talked about the unit memo, the unit discussions, the Itx Application Description project. So let's go ahead now and talk about the actual e-primer, the textbook that you're going to use for the class. So I'm going to jump over here to a discussion of that. And this is actually a presentation that is part of the e-primer. You can get this directly from the website. And I'm not going to go over this in great detail, but I want to basically use this as a way to give you a quick introduction to the e-primer. So again, this is something that was put together by the U.S. Department of Transportation. They run what they call a professional capacity building program under the ITS Joint Program Office, and this is really being done to help people like you, others, to understand what ITS is, because it is different than traditional transportation engineering. This is put together by Pat Noyes, who is a consultant in Boulder. Again, I will make this relatively quick and skip some slides to cover the main information, and you can certainly read this at your leisure. It is available. The PowerPoint file is available on the ePrimer website. So again, you see you're exactly the right audience for this. There are 14 modules. There are different people who authored each module. You will certainly see that there's going to be some variety in terms of the content and how it's presented. But these do give you a good flavor for the overall area of ITS. So this first module you're going to see, in this unit you're going to do modules 1 and 2. The first module is kind of an introduction and helps you understand kind of what ITS is. And as you see here, applies information technology, system engineering to the management and operation of surface transportation facilities. Again, I see ITS as using these more modern technologies, sensors, communications, software, automation, as a means to help us to make travel more efficient, more safe, more predictable, more reliable, and a better experience for users. So again, to try to actively manage this huge infrastructure that we have. I don't necessarily agree that it's a discipline. I think it's a particular type of approach to transportation solutions that requires multiple disciplines to be part of it. Again, you see here diverse disciplines together. Safety, efficiency, sustainability are all important. Again, the idea of it is not something necessarily to replace capacity enhancement, but rather something to make it more effective. So we'll talk about things like adaptive signal control. We'll talk about things like active traffic management. There are examples of all of this here in Virginia that we'll discuss this semester. It does include multiple modes, multiple types of facilities, whether we're talking arterials, highways, transit, etc. Again, the big challenges we've faced is that we've had huge increases in the travel with relatively small increases in terms of the actual physical infrastructure. And that's a lot of what's led to ITS, is how do we, to use the old saying, how do we do more with less? Okay, the funding, there is concern, you've heard about this in the news and we'll continue to hear about this, that we aren't investing enough in our infrastructure. One of the hopes is that ITS is perhaps a smarter investment, and it certainly is much less expensive than traditional capacity improvements. History of ITS, of course, one of the perhaps sad parts from my perspective is that I've been in my career has basically mirrored this history. I started working back in 1991, early in the ITS program, and I've been involved in this from the very beginning. So it's interesting that to see how it's evolved, and in many ways what we call ITS now is not new or revolutionary. It's simply kind of accepted practice in transportation. So let's see, I'm not going to do the poll questions. The National ITS Architecture, that'll be a lot of the second chapter in our case study. This is developed to basically guide deployment of ITS to try to ensure interoperability. One of the big issues in transportation is that you are not constrained geographically to one region or one city, and that what you have, your travel should work the same wherever you are, at least in this country. There's been work on standards, again, to try to make sure things plug and play well. I'm going to pass on this now since we'll have this in a moment. Okay. Just in terms of the e-primer, just to give you a flavor for where we're going. These are the modules. We'll start with the introduction to ITS. You'll read about that. The second module, which we'll do this unit, will be looking at systems engineering. This is a little different, perhaps, than, I'm sorry, I'm moving this around. Then I know some people in this class are systems engineering majors or in that program. This is a little bit more looking at technical systems engineering, the design of large-scale systems. A lot of the work that's done here at UVA in the systems engineering program tends to focus on systems analysis. It's similar, but some small subtle differences that you'll see. Third module that we'll address in the second unit is ITS and transportation management, kind of the traditional freeway management type systems. The fourth module will look at traffic operations, again traffic signals, freeway management, things of that nature. So the second week, or second module, will really focus on that piece, which is really probably you could consider one of the core areas in ITS. 5 looks at what they call personal transportation. A lot of this is about applications for an individual traveler to help them understand things like travel time, fares, things of that nature. Kind of looking at not so much of I'm managing the system, but rather how do I help a user manage their trip. 6, we'll look at freight, intermodal, and commercial vehicle operations. A lot of applications in ITS are about how do we move freight more efficiently and more safely. 7, we'll look at public transportation. Again, a big area in ITS and how to use these technologies to make public transportation more efficient and more attractive to users. 8th, electronic tolling and pricing. This is becoming particularly important these days as we see more and more facilities are tolled. We hear discussion of things like VMT, vehicle miles traveled, taxes as opposed to the traditional fuel tax. So this is looking at the technology that underpins mobile collection of tolls and pricing. 9 will focus a little bit more on the technologies and the types of supporting technologies that are out there to support ITS. 10 will look at rural and regional applications. A lot of ITS has been at the urban level, but there are applications in the rural areas that are meaningful and significant. This module will focus on that. 11 looks at ITS from a sustainability perspective. 12 is focusing on institutional issues. The idea here is, in many ways, a system, the technology or technical approach to a system is one piece, but you have to look very carefully at the how the institutions, the agencies, the legal framework will allow or support the system's effectiveness. And finally, the last two, we'll look at more emerging issues. One is connected vehicles. It's a very exciting area. We're doing a lot of work in here at UVA. We'll talk about that. And 14, a lot of what we'll talk about is autonomous vehicles, which have just exploded in recent years and have huge implications on what we're talking about in ITS. So that's the basic outline for the ITSE primer and, frankly, the course. There are lots and lots of resources out there. I'm giving you a lot already for each unit. There are many more if you'd like to look at that. These are some examples here. I'm going to, at this point, move on to the case study. So that gives you a quick introduction to the class. Now let's talk about the case study. And this first case study is going to be about the National ITS architecture. Again, I'm not going to use this entire presentation. You're going to have materials available to you and an exercise for this case, but I just want to give you a quick introduction. So here we go. So I'm going to go over this presentation. The take-home exercise is posted in your assignment for the unit. That is something you're going to do in teams of 2 or 3 people, and I've actually assigned the teams to get things started. And then we will be able to debrief this work. So the exercise you're looking at is actually going to be kind of a college town type of exercise, where the idea is that you're working with the ITS architecture to create a system to support movement of traffic during major events, in this case at University Football Stadium. This is something that certainly is an issue here in Charlottesville for football games, basketball games, major events in the university's facilities. You're going to play the role as a city traffic engineer. What are you going to do? You're going to look at how you take the systems that you want to create for this new application, map them to the ITS architecture, and you'll be exposed to what that is. You'll then map services, define the project, plan the project, and evaluate the project. So again, this is basically the steps that the exercise will walk you through. Again, we do this. Some of these slides now are based on the content I presented earlier, so I'm going to skip these. But again, these are the reasons behind the development of ITS. So again, definition. One of the places where ITS began was in incident management, with the idea that when you have some disruption in capacity, it could be unplanned like a crash, it could be planned like a major event. We need to use our resources to actively manage that and to try to restore capacity as quickly as possible. There are systems out there that are great examples. The example they're providing here is the Georgia Navigator system. This is the transportation management system or center for the Atlanta region, where they're looking at monitoring roadways, managing incidents, interacting with emergency agencies, and pushing out information to the public and authorities so that people can make as informed decisions as possible in terms of their travel. Again, this is a classic example here of what, for example, Georgia Navigator might look like, with operators working with the data they receive. And these are some of the field devices you see changeable message signs, cameras, signals, in-vehicle devices. Again, all of these things being used to try to actively manage traffic. So the issue with the architecture is, what we were seeing early in ITS, and I can attest to this, is that every region was developing a system that was unique and not necessarily interoperable. And one of the thoughts was we need to define an architecture so that we can help regions or cities, what have you, develop ITS systems that fit together, that benefit from commonalities in terms of cost, etc. So this architecture was developed based on that. And again, here you see it's a framework to help you create ITS systems. It's a functional representative of ITS. It's focusing on what you do, not how you do it. And that's important because the technology is constantly changing. What's important from a transportation professional is what you accomplish, and then you can look at technically the right ways of going about it. So again, within the architecture, you're looking at this organizations proposing, operating things, what systems are out there, what functions are performed, how communications take place, and what data moves. Architecture subsystems basically identify major systems and functionality, and typically these subsystems are centers, field devices, the vehicles themselves, or travelers themselves. These are the individual pieces of ITS, you could say. And within a center subsystem, there are different types. There's transit management centers, there's toll administration centers, etc. So in many cases, one of the challenges with ITS is for these systems or subsystems to work together. Field subsystems, the roadway, monitoring, could be cameras, could be vehicle detectors. You can see all the different possible field subsystems here. Vehicle subsystems, the actual commercial vehicles or trucks, transit vehicles, maintenance and construction vehicles. These are sometimes the ones that are operated by a DOT to help stranded motorists. So again, these could be a personal vehicle on to more specialized vehicles operated by agencies. Traveler subsystems, again, I as a traveler using my smartphone, using the internet with a computer, kiosks, all these sorts of things. Could be a variable message sign, how, the way that I interact with the system. So again, back to the Georgia example, we have field devices here. They interact with the center subsystem. And then we can use the entire architecture to put this all together. There are information flows defined within the architecture that help you think about how information flows from one subsystem to the next. So for example, here you see a weather service is pushing weather information to a traffic management subsystem, which then can push this information to emergency management agencies, but also collect information from emergency management subsystems about where incidents have occurred. For the architecture, there are services. A service package contains pieces of the architecture that provide a particular ITS service to address a transportation need. So in this case, a service package from the architecture could be transit vehicle priority, where transit vehicles send information to the roadway to provide the green light, a green signal to transit vehicles that are behind schedule. So that this example here is a transit signal priority service that you would work with. And you see here the flows that correspond. So again, we go from the needs to the services, and then you can bundle these services together to actually deploy a project for a region. Again, one of the things that's really important in ITS is collecting data about the performance of the system and to be able to conduct evaluations. Okay. So, with all this being said, there's lots of tools available to you can use in the case study, and other times there's the ITS architecture website you see here. There's standards websites. There's what they call turbo architecture, which is kind of a smaller, easier to use tool to help you work with architecture. You might very well think about using this for your projects. So I think that is, so again, from the case study, what we're trying to do here in the case study is to give you a feel for ITS, how to apply it to a particular problem, and use the architecture as a tool. Okay, so that is it. Now let's go back to the unit, and you'll see here I gave you a link to the architecture case study website. Here's the actual assignment you're going to be working on. I'll click on this here, and it will take me to that assignment. And you'll see there's two documents. First is the actual exercise. And this exercise will walk you through this particular use of the architecture to support the traffic management center for the particular stadium event management system. So you see here, these are the and I'm not going to read this to you now, but you'll see that it gives you resources in the field that you have available. And then basically what it's asking you to do is go through and define which systems are in the project, status, the organization, the subsystem matching. It will walk you through step by step using the architecture to design this system. So all you have to do is to basically go through, complete the exercise, enter the information into the document, and then once that's done, you will deliver it here through the assignment feature of Collab. Now, this is something I think is much better done in a team as opposed to by yourself. So I've gone ahead and assigned you teams for this case study, and you can find the team assignment right here in the assignment. And you'll see here I've just randomly gone in here at this point and matched you up. Almost all the teams are 2 people, but there is one team. Team 1 has 3. You'll see here the names of your teammates and email. Now the email I have right now is just your UVA address. I do understand that there are some people who are taking the course who probably don't use UVA email as their primary email. I would ask if you would let me know what the email is you prefer to use, and I will try to make sure and include that in future information. So again, I'm going to leave it up to you to interact with your teammate. Could be in person, could be online, and work together to complete this particular case study. Okay, so going back to the unit, I think we now have covered everything, and you should be prepared to complete the unit. I've introduced the e-primer, your textbook, and there's a lot of material to read about in chapters 1 and 2, or I should say modules 1 and 2. There is the architecture case study you're going to complete, and that is a link to the case study website, and then this is a link to your actual assignment. I do want you this week to pick your application description topic and to sign up for that so that we can begin those next week and next unit. So please do make sure that's done. You'll have to complete a unit memo for this week and deliver it here in Collab. And finally, I'm going to expect that you participate in the Unit 1 discussion. So that's the work for this week. I hope it goes well. Please don't hesitate to email me with questions or concerns, and do get this material done so that we're in position for next week on June 19th to begin Unit 2. Thank you very much.